I appreciate we have some former leaders in this room of the city of Shreveport. We've got some leaders on the council from the city of Shreveport. I'm 33 years old. We're talking about divisive and racism today in Shreveport, but let me tell you about the Shreveport that I grew up in, and sadly about the Shreveport that I've come back to. I grew up in Cedar Grove, predominantly black neighborhood. As a matter of fact, all black. I don't remember having a white neighbor in Cedar Grove. I went to school in Broadmoor. I went to Arthur Circle, Uri Drive, and Captain Shreve, predominantly black, predominantly white schools in predominantly white neighborhoods. I left after 9/11 to go and protect the country. Fortunately, I was exposed to black and white people, and I knew that I loved America and I loved all people. But again, I want to highlight the environment in which I grew up in. This is something that I have inherited. This is something my generation has inherited, and it's a huge problem for us. I went off, I served the country, I protected black people, I protected white people, I protected brown people, you name it, I protected Americans, and that was my commitment. While I was protecting the country, things started to rise because of social media, and some of our historical wrongs started to come to the forefront. We had the Mike Brown shooting in Ferguson, Missouri, and guess what? In uniform, I took the uniform off, and I went to Ferguson, Missouri. Got pictures, got all the records to prove it. After I left the military, I was working for the governor on criminal justice reform. Again, fighting for justice, fighting for equity in our country. I was there when Alton Sterling was shot in Baton Rouge. I was there. So I hear our community. I grew up in this community. I'm talking about every component of this community. And when I decided to come back and run for mayor, I guess I'm naive, because what I wanted to do was try to bring this community together. In the press conference yesterday, I told all of Shreveport, yes, there's been naysayers, there's been people that are going to continue to try to have our children get raised in a divided community like the one that I grew up in. But I'm going to push back against it. This is a moment for us to actually come together as a community, to stand behind the police chief and move forward so your kids don't have to deal with what I dealt with, so they don't have to deal with what you dealt with. But instead, all you hear, black this, white that, woman this, man, like, we have to stop. We have to stop this if we're going to move forward. So I'm asking you today, I hear you loud and clear. I've met with the black officers. You know I've put hours and hours. This is the hardest decision I've ever made in my life. And I've served in combat. There's been, I've had 30 lives, 200 lives in the balance of the decisions I've made in my life, and this was the hardest decision I've made in my life. The community that I love have put me in this position. But you know what? I knew that I would have to carry this burden when I signed up for this position, and I'm going to carry it forward. I am 100% standing behind Chief Raymond, and I am going to hold them accountable, just like each and every one of you are going to hold me accountable. That's all I have. Thank you.